So that was the turning point for you. And I presume through all this period, you're trying for a baby and you're going through that whole fertility piece, right?
That's right. So what has happened, because so when we sort of struggled to have a family, I was diagnosed with polycystic ovaries, which is, non-life threatening, but it can take a really long while to get pregnant. So my diagnosis was very simple. I wasn't ovulating, and I will need a little help, from the doctors. And the safest option was for me to go through, IVF. Now, we was very lucky at the time because we just moved to Walthamstow, and we were granted 3 cycles, but there was a waiting list. When I was at the Caridis clinic, I was so fully focused, fitting into my new job role and taking on all these courses, that I really just took a step back, and sort of stopped thinking about getting pregnant. That really gave some breathing space for myself and for my husband, really. And as life would have it, whilst I was waiting for my IVF, I got pregnant.
Mm.
I got pregnant with twins. Naturally, we have twins in our family, which I sadly miscarried.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds sort of like, miscarriage is so common, and it sounds really traumatic, but to be honest, it was so emotionally consuming. I was just really relieved that it was all over. And one thing that I really took away from it, with the sort of like difficulty getting pregnant, having miscarriages, is just sort of like letting go of things. I think I'm definitely a control freak, and that was one of the things that really I struggled with.
But you got pregnant.
I know, but then,
Yeah.
you miscarry and you just completely have no control over it. There's absolutely nothing you can do about it.
Mm.
And it's what drives you crazy.
So dealing with your miscarriage, and then the success of pregnancy and gorgeous daughter, and the person that you became, and actually what came next for you. I suppose that's what I'm quite interested in, how you went on that journey.
Just naturally, it was really hard. Miscarriage is very challenging physically, but also emotionally. And I had all sorts of thoughts in my head. Number one, am I going to have to try for another year before I qualify for IVF? So I had to check in with my doctor. That's going to be a couple of months. But it's also being around pregnant women again. And I know I keep coming back to that, but it's just it's a reality that a lot of women live in, and we just don't talk about it. I went back to work a week later, and my dear colleague, Lou, who's just the loveliest person, was also pregnant at the time. So on the very first day I came back, she didn't know I was coming back.
Right.
And she walked in with a baby on board badge. And Adam, it just completely overwhelmed me.
Yes.
Said hello. I went into the treatment room where I was going to be working that day. I just sat down, just really choking, really. I still feel like sort of like emotional remembering, because Lou is a nurse, and she's just very good with people, and she knew exactly what I was going through. And she came into the room and just sat down next to me, just cuddled me, and we sobbed in silence. She didn't say a word. She didn't need to. And the point from this is that I think as a society, we are told to not share pregnancy news until much later, just in case something goes wrong, just to spare ourselves from having to explain. But I was really glad I had people around me in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there was real strength in being open and supported. And then me and my husband decided to take a little break, and we went on a vacation. We went to Morocco and had a jolly good time in Marrakesh, clearly because we came back pregnant.
Hey. Yeah. Well,
And so
no IVF. It was
completely natural. And, Adam, that says something about sort of the mindset and the stress. I went from not ovulating in years to having 2 pregnancies in under 12 months.
roll forward 5 years and she's at school today.
And she's just such a
Yeah.
lovely girl.
So you didn't go straight into aesthetics. So you had your daughter, and you took a different career path at this point. So I remember meeting you on the cusp of Face Up a few years ago now in Waltham Forest. What came next?
After Amaya was born, I had this really big calling. I knew exactly how sort of longing for the baby can feel, and I felt I could do more. So what I did then is I quickly left my nurse aesthetic role, and I went and retrained as a fertility midwife. And that's what I did until I met you.
Wow.
But it's interesting because being a fertility midwife, and again, being sort of under the guidance of the hospital, and we have so many policies and rules for all the very good reasons. At that point, I also felt that I wanted to decide how I want to care for people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's what sort of gave me an idea that
Were you
maybe
back in the
it's
NHS or
no, so
privately?
fertility, that was all
Yeah.
private. And it was a very good exposure. I've learned so much and met some amazing people that were going through most difficult times. But it was at that point when I decided that I've actually got such a good background and knowledge and experience in aesthetics that maybe it's time I opened up my own business and decided for myself, the hours that I'm going to work. And that was really helpful having a young child at home. And that's how the idea of Face Up was born.
When the name Face Up, when was there a moment you were like, oh, this is what I'm going to call my business?
I think sort of it sounds very cliche, but many people might not see it that way. But I feel there is a real link between midwifery and aesthetics. It was always about being there for people at the most vulnerable. And Adam, I do a great deal of counseling when I'm at work. I should charge extra. That's just part of the job.
I'm sure. Yeah.
And when I first started in aesthetics, because it was so taboo, my main clientele was just this bunch of Lithuanian women that perhaps didn't speak great English, and they trusted me.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my way of helping them feel confident in their own skin, and just really carried on in that sense. It's, started with a woman, giving their confidence in how they feel. It's obviously expanded to now we see people from all sorts of walks of life, men, transgender, non-binary. But it's helping people reconnect with themselves, and sort of by the time they leave, they're more in touch with who they are.